To start with, I'd like to describe some of the impact of our UT AgResearch soybean varieties over the last 5 years. There were 142,348 acres of UT varieties grown by farmers. If we look at estimates of each year's seed sales by that year's state average yield, by that year's commodity price, we find that the result is $65.9 million in revenue directly to farmers who grew UT AgResearch varieties. So it's a significant impact. Now, ag economists estimate a 9-fold increase in revenue from soybean harvests, and this includes things like shipment, storage, oil crushing, protein meal extraction, and biodiesel processing. So the $65.9 million multiplied by 9 equals $593 million in realized economic impact for the region by farmers who grew UT soybean varieties. So the UT Soybean Breeding and Genetics Program returned strong impact from investment. We had two new varieties that were lost in production, but we were able to go back to seed stocks and reconstitute them. The first is TN09-008, which has a relative maturity of about 5.2, and it's a recent USDA high-yield cyst nematode resistant check variety. So it's the gauge of performance that other breeders strive to match or beat in developing new varieties. It's resistant to SCN races 2, 3, and 5. It's resistant to stem canker, and it's tolerant to sudden death syndrome. It's also tolerant to frog-eye leaf spot. In 70 environments of yield testing, it was 2 bushels per acre above the checks, which included ASGRO 5332, ASGRO 5606, ASGRO 5632, and ASGRO 5831. This is a slide of a 1/4 acre of seed increase of TN09-008 in Milan last year in 2021. We'll use this for seed stock for producing the production. The second variety was TN15-5007. It has a maturity of about 4.7. It has ultra high protein, about 50.5% protein in the meal fraction. It has high yield, and it's resistant to stem canker. In 32 environments of yield testing, it produced 2 bushels per acre above the checks, which included Ellis, ASGRO 4632, ASGRO 4835, and ASGRO 46X7. And this is a 1 acre plot of TN15-5007 seed increase at Milan last year. Nice and clean. We'll get good seed out of this material. In 2021, we released 2 new varieties. The first is TN18-4110, which is a high oleic, low linolenic variety, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. The second variety we released is TN14-5021, which is resistant to soybean cyst nematode and a multiple array of plant diseases. Well, talking about high oleic, low linolenic material. So soybean oil is the most prominent vegetable oil used in the United States, but it has to be hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated. And hydrogenation of the soybean oil improves its shelf life and stability. But unfortunately, when you hydrogenate soybean oil, a portion of the oil changes from the normal cis configuration to the trans configuration, and you create trans fat. The trans arrangement increases the melting point, the shelf life, and the flavor stability of the hydrogenated oil. Because of these technical properties, partially hydrogenated oils have been used by the food industry in such products as margarine, shortening, and baked goods for many, many years. But there's a significant loss of the domestic market for soybean oil because, based on new scientific evidence, the FDA has determined that partially hydrogenated oils, which are the primary dietary source of trans fat, are not generally recognized as safe for use in any food. In June 2015, the FDA issued its final ruling that partially hydrogenated oils are banned because of health risks associated with the consumption of trans fat, and therefore food manufacturers would no longer be permitted to sell partially hydrogenated oils either directly or as ingredients in another food product. Soybeans are the leading vegetable oil that are partially hydrogenated, and this will result in significant loss of market share. Okay, unless we do something about it. One thing that we can do is to create high oleic, low linolenic soybeans that do not need to be hydrogenated. We created TN184110 using a molecular marker assisted backcross program over the last several years. We tested it in 6 environments in the 2019 USDA Southern Uniform Prelim test. It showed a maturity of about 4.9, a yield of 59.3 bushels per acre, which was excellent, and in fact was about 9% greater than the mean of all the checks. Most importantly, it had 83.1% oleic acid and 2.1% linolenic acid. The 83.1 oleic acid is about 4 times the normal level of oleic acid, and we want to elevate oleic acid to make the oil stable. Oleic acid is the primary oil found in olive oil. Also, I'd like to mention that we achieved the high oleic, low linolenic material through traditional crossing and a non-GMO approach. Both DuPont and Monsanto had created high oleic material using a transgenic engineering approach. The DuPont material contains up to 80% oleic acid, and the Monsanto material contains about 75% oleic acid. So we were able to achieve a level equivalent to that of genetic engineering using a non-GMO approach. In the combined data over 2 years of testing in the USDA Southern Uniform test, TN184110 had a yield of 55.5 bushels per acre, which was 100% of the check yield. And again, the oleic acid was very high at 83.1%, with linolenic acid at 2.1%. The fatty acids were officially tested by Eurofins Company, which is well known for their precision in fatty acid testing. Unfortunately, purity issues in TN184110 necessitated reselection of single plants via gas chromatography, and we will reconstitute the variety this year. The second variety that we had released in 2021, just this past year, is TN145021. It has a relative maturity of 4.9, and it's a conventional variety. It has high meal protein, about 48 to 49% of the meal is protein content. It's resistant to SCN races 2, 3, and 5. And soybean cyst nematode is the most devastating soybean pathogen in the United States. Race 2 is becoming prominent in West Tennessee and the Mid-South region, and very few commercial varieties have race 2 resistance, so this is an important variety. In addition to TN145021 having resistance to soybean cyst nematode, it's also resistant to stem canker. And it's resistant to reniform nematode, resistant to frog eye leaf spot, resistant to sudden death syndrome, so it has a very nice disease-resistant package. Across 70 environments of testing, TN145021 yielded 99% of the checks, which included Ellis, ASCO 4632, ASCO 4835, and ASCO 46X7. We have other genetic material in the pipeline. For example, TN185001 was the #1 yielding line in this past year's 2021 elite yield test in the maturity group 4 late, averaged over 3 environments in Tennessee. It produced 65 bushels per acre, almost 7 bushels per acre above the check, which was the Ellis variety, a very, very productive variety. TN185001 comes from a diversity cross where we purposely chose genetically diverse parents to complement each other and produce high yield. So we will have newer varieties in production in the coming years, and we really enjoy the work that we do. Thank you very much.